Today, we are honored to have with us Dr. Yan Senzumio, Igor Piniski Jitapoksa Nim, Zen Master Tekwan, and Zen Master Tebong to talk to us on the topic Zen for Sustainable Development Goals. And this session will be moderated by Myung An Sunim Jitapoksa. Myung An Sunim comes from Malaysia. He was ordained in 1997 and was the last monk to be ordained by Zen Master Songsan. He received Inca in 2015. He is currently the Abbot of Hangwon Zen Center in Penang. Now, let's put our palms together to welcome Myung An Sunim Jitapoksa.
Hello. Let me wish you all a very warm welcome to the final session of the whole Singapore 2020 Online International Zen Conference. And many thanks to our hosts and the team at Hobing Zen Temple, as well as our Quantum Online team for their efforts in organizing this. So 2020 is a year that most of us would like to forget. One marked by the COVID-19 pandemic, destruction of habitat and wildlife, and political turmoil in many countries. It is easy to be caught up in the confusion of these events, hoping that things one day will go back to normal. One thing remains clear through all of this, and unless you've had your head buried in the sand over the last few years, you will know that we humans are facing the greatest threat to our survival on this planet. And the irony of it will not be lost on most of you. This is largely of our own making. Humans are the asteroid causing the extinction of thousands of species. So what can be done? Zen Master Wan Hyo said, helping oneself and helping others are like the two wings of a bird. In our case, others are the living creatures of our planet, all flora and fauna, without exception. Tonight, we have a distinguished panel of speakers who have spent a lot of time helping our environment, as well as our spiritual practice and direction, and they will shed some light on these critical issues. First, I'd like to invite Dr. Yan Senzumio to speak, but before I tell you about him, he has very kindly said that he will follow up and answer the questions that the panelists have not been able to address by the end of tonight. So please ask as many questions as you like. They will be answered tonight, and if not, then later. So Dr. Senzumio has practiced with the Quantum School of Zen since 1975 and is a senior Dharma teacher and abbot of the Vienna Zen Center. As an ecologist, he has been working on the management and sustainable development of communities and the ecosystems that they depend on since 1980. He has also worked on river communities in North America, Europe, Central Asia, and West Africa. Maybe easier to say the whole world. So, Yan, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yan Senzumio, and I'm the abbot of the Vienna Zen Center in Austria. I'm very honored to be invited to talk to you about sustainability at this splendid conference that Chonwen Popsa and her excellent team have organized. It's been really inspiring to see many of the presentations over the past month, and I feel privileged that I can be another person who presents some of these ideas to you. I'm going to try to introduce the idea of sustainability, what are some of the major problems, and what can we do about it. And then the talks following will give you excellent examples of things people are doing right now for your edification. So how can we look at this problem of sustainability? It's a huge subject. One simple way to look at it is with a phrase I'm hearing over and over, whether I'm working in Africa or Australia or Europe. And that is, people are saying, I no longer recognize my world. The world has fundamentally changed. Now, I'm an ecologist, and I can tell you that the ways in which we've industrialized this world have oversimplified it. And because of that, it's connected in ways it's never been connected before. Problems that used to be only local are spreading to regions, to nations, even to the entire planet. And that is a surprise for all of us. Let's just take fire. Just this past year, almost 100,000 square kilometers of Australia burned. Already so far this year, 20,000 square kilometers of the west coast, California, have burned. 1 billion animals in Australia died alone just this year. It's chased people to the seacoast. They had to be rescued by the Australian Navy. And this is when they began saying to everyone, Australia is no longer what I knew. We can also look at sea level rise. Within our Sangha, already there are people who have left the coast because the sea level was rising and life was no longer comfortable. We know this is happening for thousands, if not millions of people now in China, the United States, Indonesia, Malaysia, and it's going to be a worldwide problem that could stretch up to several hundred million people over the next 200 years. Drought. We already have good evidence that drought not only has caused starvation, but also war. The war in Syria probably was preceded by a 7-year drought that put 1 million farmers out of work. And when they looked for explanations, often they were explanations that led to a civil war, which still engulfs that country. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of farmers, because of a drought in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, have been trying to migrate to some place where they could make a life again. This is something that is happening in many, many parts of the world. Flooding. Our industrialization of the landscape means that water no longer is stored. Water moves, often too quickly, eroding, destroying, ripping out buildings, chasing people from cities. And this is coupled with drought, because if the water moves too quickly over the landscape, you haven't saved it for the later, hotter parts of the year when you need that water there. As a result of only these 4, but many, many other reasons, millions of people now are moving. They had to leave their homes. As a result of climate change, the estimate is there are already 31 million people who have had to move. And as a result of all causes, war, economy, climate, maybe 80 million people, according to the United Nations High Commission on Refugees, have had to move. They've left, and they ask themselves now, where is home? Where do I belong? The fear, the anguish that has come from this, many people would like to be rescued. We know that people have their superheroes in comics, and that often reflects their fear that they alone can't do it. We need a superhero. Many people see science and technology as that superhero. Briefly, I'm going to show why science and technology by themselves are not enough. Something is missing that means we are not unlocking their power and really being able to deal with change around us. Let's say that you have a beautiful house like this in Colorado, a solar house that's reduced energy use by 92%. That's a wonderful technology, and it is available to about 5% of the world rich enough to use it. Let's say that you also are so smart and so careful that you organize your whole community and make an ecological village. You use even fewer resources. Still, these houses or an ecological village are probably dealing with perhaps 20% of the problem. Why? Let's look at this. Let's say you as an individual would like to change your diet, like to change your transportation. Maybe you don't have a car anymore, you have an electric bike, and you are not eating meat. Those are all wonderful choices you can try and experiment with. But the choices you have depend also on the community you live in. They're going to control a lot of the options you get. And that community, in turn, has its choices dependent on what it is embedded in. It's embedded in a system of energy distribution. Or that system in turn depends on the entire energy production system. So the entire system is governed by our laws and our institutions. That is something that changes much more slowly. Let's take, for example, that you live in an apartment and you are using too much energy. You'd like to have special windows that are much more insulated. That may not be a choice you can make. Only the landlord can do that. And the landlord may not be interested in your energy use, but may only respond if the laws change. It can take decades for people to come together, come to an understanding, and change laws such that the entire nation will move. And that is part of where we are stuck. Let's look at some of these changes again. Right now, we have a tidal wave going over us in terms of the pandemic of the virus. And this has caused shock waves, for instance, in our economy. So the virus that usually stayed only in one part of the world has moved around the world, and this in turn has affected economies around the world. All of these are being affected now by climate. In fact, climate change is making much of this much more possible. What few people fully appreciate is that at the same time we have a collapse of our biodiversity, not just species diversity. We have lost the total number of animals. The work that nature does for us is now diminishing because there aren't as many animals and plants as there were before, and the soil is not healthy. All of these changes affect each other. It's not, so you can't just look at one problem or another. The entire system itself needs to be rebuilt. So, how do we unlock our power? Science and technology know a lot. The knowledge base they've established is impressive. But no one really knows now exactly how to move forward. To do that, we have to make experiments, not little ones. You have to make deep experiments that are really risky. And we aren't making those risky experiments that make for breakthroughs, that will allow us to really advance and deal with these global issues. Why is that? Let's look carefully. One of the reasons we aren't learning fast enough to unleash technology and science is because of our fear, our anger, and our mistrust. These experiments, when you have to change an entire industry, an entire nation, entire landscapes, so that we can now deal with a changing world, we have to trust one another. Who would you trust and work with? Who would you spend all the money of the nation on massive experiments to rebuild? For that we need trust. I want to now talk about a final factor that's happened in the last 15 to 20 years, which has made all of these other problems worse, especially regarding trust. And that is our addiction to social media, our addiction to having other people pay attention to us. This has caused us to stay inside our bubbles and not listen to other people. We, as opposed to really thinking critically and trying to find out what's happening, we use simple slogans and we don't test those ideas. For some people, it's even painful to hear ideas they disagree with once you've been in these bubbles right now. So, how do we go forward? Well, first, take a look at exactly how this addiction has harmed us. This is the results of research in psychology. We can look at the level of a person. We can look at the level of a group. In terms of each individual, we find our breathing patterns have changed. We also find that people's attention span has gone down. We aren't patient in how we consider problems. We also find our ability to think critically has gone down. And finally, our mental health is declined. We have huge increases in depression and thoughts of suicide, especially among young teenagers who have never known anything else but social media. At the level of the group, we find our relationships are suffering, our ability, we think we're relating to other people on the internet, but the kind of deep relations that build trust and empathy are actually not happening. At the same time, our civility, our mutual respect for one another has declined. That means our ability to discuss, to understand other points of view has gone way down. Our trust in each other, as I mentioned, and finally, shared truth. Our ability to come together with people we don't agree with and at least find a truth we can all agree on. For scientists and technologists, they are completely trapped if we don't have a process or a way to find the truth together. Now, if you want to do something about this, there are sources like the Project Drawdown that will show you hundreds of ways that you can really help with climate change. It's wonderful research that shows you what's effective, what's not, and you can choose what you would like to work on. But for us in the Quantum School of Zen, I would urge that we think about what is our strength and what we really can offer. And that, I feel, we should focus on the key that unlocks all of these problems, reestablishing trust in society. How could this be? Our practice of not knowing, of a don't know mind, in sitting Zen, means that you learn to listen with an open mind. First in simply staring at the floor, but we can extend this open space and listen to each other in our sanghas, in our families, in our communities. And there is evidence that people who strongly disagree about the world will start to talk to each other if they trust the other person is not judging them and is completely open to hearing what their point of view is. Our practice can produce that kind of openness, and we can express ourselves in that way. So, you're about to see many, many examples of what people have been doing, wonderful examples from within our Sangha. In closing, I would just like to urge you that if you listen to yourself and to those around you, what are you seeing? What are you afraid of? What would you like to do? We may find for ourselves and for those around us what we really do best, what we love to do. There is a lot of research to show that if you want to change opinion, shaming people never produces more than short-term results. Long-term results come from establishing mutual understanding, a loving companionship. You can see in certain people, they are so enamored of what they're doing that you just want to be part of it. You want to be part of that wonderful atmosphere of doing something that seems to be helping everyone else. So I'm hoping that our practice will mean that we're much more capable of doing that than many people who don't practice in the way we do, and we can provide examples. So I would like to thank everyone in the team that has put together this beautiful conference. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Jan. That was really wonderful. I learned so much from there. And thank you for showing us a way forward through this. Next, we have Igor Pininski, Judoposanim from Poland. Hello, Igor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Igor Pininski Judoposanim graduated in acting from a Lodz Film School. Right now, he's working on his own film studio, focusing on environmental and educational films. He lives with his wife in the countryside, as you can see, it's beautiful. He's an abbot of the Lodz Zen Center and started practicing there in 1995. On March 9th, 2013, he received Inca from Zen Master Bonchim in Wubongsa Temple in Poland. So, Igor, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sunim. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I would like to say a few words about the original Buddha Temples initiative, which appeared in the Quantum School of Zen this year. with this initiative, we draw inspiration from the Buddha Shakyamuni's enlightenment story. So, as you probably know, Buddha spent the final days of his practice before we got enlightenment, and sometime after this, sitting under a tree, Ficus religiosa, which we call the Bodhi tree. And this tree provided him with protection from sun and from light rain. But one day, very heavy rain came, and this tree was not enough. So a king of snakes called Mukalinda came and spread his hood over Buddha's head, so Buddha could continue meditation. And finally, one morning, he saw the morning star and attained enlightenment. So this was the first Buddhist temple, a tree, a human being sitting under this tree, and animal cooperating with this, with Buddha, with what he was doing. And this picture is probably the most known Buddhist symbol. You know, you can see it on many statues and many paintings. This symbol, this tree, Buddha, and the snake with its hood over Buddha's head represents something which we call the middle way. So, 100 years ago, actually people were not using the word Buddhism. They were not saying, I'm practicing Buddhism. They were usually saying, I am practicing Buddha Dharma, or I'm following Buddha Dharma, or they were saying, I'm following the middle way. If somebody heard middle way, they already knew this is the teaching of Buddha. So this is not some part of Zen teaching. This is not some part of Buddhist teaching. It's actually middle way is Buddhism. This is what we do. What is middle way? Now, this middle way means practicing and living in harmony, in balance. And well, some people may ask why Buddha was practicing under a tree. He was a prince. He was a very wealthy man. He could actually order to build a temple in his palace. You know, a temple, you know, like we are doing now, with wood walls, soundproof, so he could sit quiet there with roof. So a tree and snake would be not necessary. But you know, this palace and this wall, those walls of this palace are also symbolic. They represent this primary disconnection between Buddha and the world of suffering. So he knew nothing about this world. He knew nothing about the needs of all the sentient beings, which finally he decided to save from suffering. So in order to help them, he had to leave the palace. He had to go beyond the walls. And he practiced outside. He practiced in the nature with all those sentient beings. And as Jan said in his beautiful talk, we have a lot of huge problems now. And all of these problems are because we are totally disconnected from our origins. We are totally disconnected from the natural world. We are living in palaces like Buddha in the beginning was. Around these palaces are huge walls. Those palaces are sometimes physical, you know, our cities, our homes, all creations we make, but also there are mental palaces. Palaces of circles of what we are interested in, palaces of media, palaces of internet, of things like that. So we live in these small places and we don't care actually what is going outside. And all our knowledge about nature, about the natural world, is from those media, it's from internet, it's from television. Sometimes we go to a zoo or maybe on a safari, but actually we have no real experience with the natural world. So, yeah, in order to help with all these problems, and in order to go back to our to the way we should go, to the middle way, to bring back balance, to bring back harmony, we have to reconnect with this natural world, both in our lives and in our practice. So this is why the original Buddha Temples initiative started. We are going to create new places for practice and for cooperation with nature. We are going back to the Buddha Shakyamuni's experience. And so we are going to create temples with no buildings, with no walls, with no roofs. We are just going to buy land and give it back to nature and to help to re-establish natural ecosystems there. Because we have taken too much of land on this planet. We are only one specimen. There are 8.7 million species on this planet. We are only one. And we have taken most of this planet for ourselves. It's time to start giving it back. Because, like Jan said, we can't save this world alone with our wonderful technologies. This is not possible. But the original Buddha companions, plants, animals, natural world, is capable of doing this. Is capable of solving all these problems. We just have to give back, homes to those snakes, animals, trees, and all these creatures which we are going to save, but actually which we need also to save us. So this year we, Woodsden Center organized the Yamen Zhongjin. The first Yamen Zhongjin organized by our center, which was like Buddha was doing it. So under trees, we were sitting under trees and we made a short video about it. So maybe let's watch this video now.
Namakalaya Parugita Savaraya Bodhisattva Mahasadabaya Mahagarunikaya Om Salvabaya Sunarana Daraya Dasamyong Namakari.
Thank you very much. Original Buddha Temple project is not only about going outside and practicing under the trees. In the Quantum School of Zen, every day we repeat 4 great vows. And the first of them is sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. So the first step in helping all those sentient beings is to stop hurting them. And let's do it. The first Sangha of Buddha, they were just meditating and learning, first from Buddha, then from the teacher who came after him, learning sutras and learning about Buddhism. They were not working. They were, if they needed food or clothes, they were just going to towns and villages and begging for it. This was the rule. Until Zen Master Pai Chang came. Zen Master Pai Chang changed this completely. He created a rule: a day without work is a day without food, which meant that monks in the monastery had to earn everything they used. If they wanted to eat, they have to earn this. If they wanted clothes, they have to earn this. So this is very important. From this moment, in Zen practice, work became the essential part of Zen practice. Not only meditation, but also work. And we are doing this in all Zen centers. We have work as part of our practice. So this is because we shouldn't be a burden for others. We should, if we need something, we have to work to get it. But sometime later, another great Zen master appeared, Zen Master Joju, with a new teaching. So once a monk came to Zen Master Joju and said, "Master, I'm here in this monastery for a long time already, and you haven't given me any instructions. I don't know how to practice. Please teach me." Joju said, "Have you had your breakfast?" "Yes, I have." "Then go and wash your bowls." Upon hearing this monk attained enlightenment. So like with many Kongans, this one has multiple layers of teaching. And one of them is obviously teaching about everyday mind. But there is another layer of teaching. Whatever you do, whatever you use, you have to clean up after doing this. So not only you should earn this, but also you have to clean up. So in our modern lives, in the time of global warming, all the crises, environmental crises we have, it's very important to understand that cleaning doesn't mean just, moving things out of our sight. So we keep our homes clean and tidy, our working place, our temples, but throwing things away is not a real cleaning. So we are one with the whole world. So if we want to help all sentient beings, if we don't want to be burdened for all sentient beings, we have to clean up after all our actions. So for example, now, I'm talking to you, and by talking to you, I am generating carbon emissions because I'm using electricity, I'm using internet, I'm using different electronic devices. Even if you can see beautiful nature behind me, I'm surrounded by many devices, and all of them generate carbon dioxide. So I may think, well, but I am doing a noble thing now. I am giving a speech about climate change, original Buddha temples project, etc. So it's worth doing it because I'm inspiring people to do better. But I don't know, maybe you will be inspired, maybe not. One thing is certain, I am generating carbon emissions now. So if I can't bring it back, I shouldn't say a word. So fortunately I can. And you can do it too. So Original Buddha Temples initiative is also about this. It's about cleaning up after everything we do, cleaning up the air. So, because by creating these places, we are giving back land to the natural ecosystems. we are creating forests, and those natural ecosystems will take back our carbon emissions. So for every hour project, we calculate the ratio between the money we invest in this project and the carbon which we take back from the atmospheric pool. So we are using a system which is called carbon offsetting. You probably heard about this system because there are many carbon offsetting projects around the world. Many of them are wonderful. This is just one more. And we are doing it inside Quantum School of Zen. That means that you should first calculate your emissions. So you should be aware how much exactly you are emitting, you are contributing to the atmosphere. And then if you know it, you can see where you can reduce it, because it's very important to reduce. Zen Master Sung San used to teach, don't go anywhere if you have no business. This is very important. So we are doing a lot of things which we actually have no business doing. We are traveling too much, we own too much, we are doing a lot of things we don't have to do, and we work too much. And all this generates carbon emissions. So if we know, what our emissions are, we can reduce them. But some are impossible to reduce. So some are unavoidable. And those we should offset, which means we should take care of taking them back. And if you want, you can try to do this with the original Buddha Temples projects. You can visit our website, originalbuddhatemple.org, and you will find the information there. This website is actually under construction, so some buttons are not working. And we have already first project there starting now. You can't actually donate to this project today, but probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow it will be possible. You can also follow us on Facebook, or you can contact our regional members of the Global Original Buddha Temple Initiative Committee. It is Zen Master Jokbom in America, Myonggan Sunim in Asia. I'm doing this for you. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Igor Popsanim. A really impassioned and moving talk from such a beautiful forest temple. And I'm sure you're connected to nature, more connected to nature than most of us. Thank you. So next is Zen Master Daekwon. Zen Master Daekwon, hear me? Okay. So Zen Master Daekwon was born in Hong Kong. She was previously called Hyangam Sinim, and the Pali name is Sudama. In 1981, she ordained at Ajahn Chah's International Forest Monastery in Thailand and practiced in Chiang Mai for 10 years, including 2 years of intensive solo retreat in Tubu Cave. In 1995, she received income from Zen Master Sung San, and in April 2001, received Dharma transmission at Musang Sa in Korea. She's the abbot and guiding teacher of Subong Zen Monastery in Hong Kong, and she has translated the following books into Chinese: Dropping Ashes on the Buddha, Only Don't Know, and The Whole World is a Single Flower. So Zen Master Daekwon, over to you.
Hello, thank you very much. I have this opportunity to meet everyone, and I want to thank Hokman Temple, Chairman Sanim, organized this great event for many of us, and then the team is working so hard. I want to take this short opportunity to thank everyone. Before I continue to share the story in Hong Kong, as you know, Hong Kong has no forest. We are living in a jungle forest. but we try very hard to bring something to share the Dharma and the nature with the people in Hong Kong. So I like, before I speak, maybe before I share the story, maybe I like to share this video with everyone. Thank you. See you later.
Coming empty-handed, going empty-handed. That is human. When you were born, where do you come from? When you die, where do you go? Life is like a floating cloud which appears. Death is like a floating cloud which disappears. The floating cloud itself originally does not exist. Life and death, coming and going, are also like that. But there is one thing which always remains clear. It is pure and clear, not depending on life and death. Then what is the one pure and clear thing? Zen is to help us understand this one pure and clear thing and to attain our true nature. One of Zen Master Songsan's vows was to bring this practice back to China and show his gratitude for what he had learned from Zen Buddhism. So in 1992, Zen Master Songsan invited then Hyangam Sunim, now Zen Master De Kwan, to start Subong Zen Monastery in Hong Kong. Situated in the center of a busy city, Subong Zen Monastery provides city dwellers opportunities to practice meditation and have a place to rest their mind. Many people come here for morning practice before they go to work or evening practice after work. Other than the Zen center in the city, Subong Zen Monastery was offered Goksu Temple, our international Zen center in Luk Wu, Lantau Island.
大自然佢係冇我嘅，冇一個執着喺度嘅，咁所以如果我哋個心去到大自然嗰陣時候咧，我哋就好容易就回復返我哋每個人原本嗰個狀態。
When we arrive in this beautiful place surrounded by mountains, we can easily feel nature's unconditional love and embrace. We learn to cherish and be grateful for what we have. An eminent teacher once said, "The blue sky and the green sea are the Buddha's original face. The sounds of waterfall and the bird songs are great sutras."
大自然係無價嘅，咁所以我哋身為人類，我哋應該要對大自然有一個責任。我哋嘅責任咧係要感恩佢 take care 我哋嘅生命，所以我哋亦都要 take care 翻佢嗰個自然嗰個狀態。
The meditation forest in Luk Wu is over 130 years old. It has witnessed the development of Hong Kong's Buddhist history and culture. Nothing comes easily here. Our retreat centers, including Goksu Temple, Sim Pak Lam, Lotus Shelter, and Wai Sao Yun, are all about 100 years old. We wish to protect, conserve, rebuild, and refurbish these places so that they can keep serving as venues for Zen practice, preserve the culture of practice and the natural surroundings, and allow monastics and lay people to rest their minds and practice here. By conserving the natural environment of Luk Wu and its 130 years history of practice, we can continue to promote Zen practice and conserve both nature and our mind.
Hello again. So as you all know, Hong Kong is a very commercial place. People just come here to shop and to, this financial like center place. So it's very difficult to actually to remind people of the nature. And we are very grateful we were given this place in Lantau Island, Lok Wu, and then we can merge our Zen practice together with the nature. And just now in the video we talk about Zen is provide a place for us to understand, this one pure and clear thing. So Zen is not just like that. Zen means if we experience it, Zen means to experience. So in this really like commercial place and people are suffering and people are living in a very, very tight, not so much space. So when they come to Zen Center already, they feel very, very comfortable, but we don't just want them to feel comfortable. We want them to experience what this nature is about, how in nature to understand there's no I. I think that's the most important point that we want. Zen always taught it like that. So I have a poem that I like to share with you. After we learn this pure and clear thing, then there's a next step. This next step is, if you want to understand the realm of Buddha, keep a mind clear like space. Let all thinking and desire fall away. And let your thinking and desire mind fall away, and then let your mind go any place with no hindrance. So that's very important point. Meaning, even though we do all this conservation work, but what kind of mind are we going to use? So in our temple rules, Zen Master used to say, we have two kinds of job. Our mind have two kinds of job. One is keeping a clear mind. In fact, that is our original job. That is our original temple, keeping a clear mind. Our side job is to cut off our selfish and desire in order we can help others. This outside work, which means moment to moment, what is in front of us? Like in Hong Kong, recently, as you all know, now we are very famous because of these protests and all these turmoils, and now we have this COVID disease. So these are outside things in front of us. So when they appear, it's for us to practice. It's for our sense for this sustainable, can we keep this clear mind, very important. So when they practice, it's like this, it's like a knife. If we want to sharpen the knife, then at the beginning it's very blunt. So blunt we cannot cut through our selfishness, our ego, whatever, So, but as we practice, we are sharp enough to cut through all this ego and being selfish, then we're able to help others. So I have some story that I like to share with you. Here we call sustainable and development. So sustainable is something we learn and we want to preserve, like this pure and clear mind, or we say clear mind. We want to sustain, we want to preserve this clear mind. But how are we going to use in a society like in Hong Kong? During the social unrest time, actually, many of us are living in fear, distress, and really very sad. So one of our Zen teaching by our sixth patriarch, he said, this famous teaching, he saw two monks are arguing about a flag. Is this wind blowing or is this flag blowing? They're fighting. It's like nowadays we're fighting. In Hong Kong we have this yellow, meaning democracy, and this blue because this is police, At that time, we are caught in both too. At the Zen Center, we can't even open our mouth to talk about anything. But this koan, this story really helped us. Is the wind blowing or is the flag blowing? So then Sixth Period said, no, it's your mind that is moving. So I think this story, this koan really have helped many of our students, not even Zen students, but when people hear about that koan, they really felt, yeah, it's outside moving. We shouldn't be disturbed. So, and that's why during that time, I think this, this Zen teaching in some way is not only sustaining this clear mind, but we are it's a kind of development, this mental development of using this pure and clear mind, and also because of, okay, don't touch outside, you keep your senses strong, you keep your mind clear, and they are able to digest really difficult situation in Hong Kong. Now we have, second thing is our, here we say, this is like thinking too, thinking. We have to let it fall away, but we need some training in doing that. So in our school, we say, keep this stone of mind, keep this clear mind. And inside your mind, you always say, what can I do right now? What is this? What can I do right now? By paying attention to that, actually, some wisdom always appear in front of us with training. So there's another, I feel very, very happy and very successful example to share with you is letting all thinking and external desire fall away. In one case, we have a student, he is a nurse. He is working to help this COVID-19 pandemic situation. And he also, very difficult. So whenever he feels difficult, he will say, okay, stop, like coming to this point. Make, help himself to have a pause, coming back to this point. And then if he cannot do it, he will start breathing like Buddha sitting under the tree. Actually, we are breathing all the time, but we are not aware that we are breathing. By using that extra tension, he was able to center himself again, and he had this clear mind again, and he can really help people who are very sad, who are very stressful, even different races, different religion people. He has, in doing that, all those thinking, all those separation disappear. Only in his mind say, okay, what can I help you? I'm here to help you. So he, as a nurse, he is helping many people to calm themselves, and he is able to listen. Just now, our Yon also said we have to listen. So this listening work, when you're listening, you truly can help people who are suffering. And, I live in Thailand. When I live in Thailand, my teacher always tell me one thing, look at the tree. A tree has no like or dislike. Before when I first start practicing, I am a very emotional person. Anybody just look at my face, they know what's going on. But I really learned from this tree. This tree has no like and dislike. As you know, recently, one of our teachers, Myeong Hee Sanim, she is our second guiding teacher in Hong Kong. She passed away. So when she passes away, one thing is because we're using this Zen sustainable training, keeping this mind returning to zero, and how are we going to use this to face this crisis, this sadness? I feel so proud of this Zen training, and especially this poem. The last line is that let your mind go any place with no hindrance. So many people are very sad, but behind the sadness, one thing, you never hear any one of us start blaming anybody. Why are we not blaming? Because it's like a tree. A tree will not blame. Even somebody chopped the tree will not blame anybody. So this is so wonderful for us to have a place with Zen teaching and also the nature to help us to experience, people even so close to us died of accident. Somebody hit the car. But we never blame the driver. We never blame even the person who hit the car. But by doing that, what will happen? Then you will only think, what can I do right now? How am I to solve this problem? How are we going to help Ma'am Hisanim? How are we going to help the Sangha? So by practicing, over 49 days, everybody after practice, instead of tears, these tears transform into smile and really care about each other. So this is something I like to share with, how the Zen teaching coming to Hong Kong now is China. And this is one of the wish that Zen Master want to help us in Hong Kong or every part of the world where there's Chinese. Because if you practice, actually there's no nationality. But this is his breakthrough. He wants to show gratitude from what he learned from Zen Buddhism, which come from China and also from India, of course. So to me, this is something I like to share is this pure mind is not for us to attach, but for us to use moment to moment and how we digest it and how we solve problems. To end this, I'd like to share one poem from Zen Master Song San, which is very beautiful. He said, "The sky is my father, the ground is my mother, mountain and water are my brother and sister. Clouds coming and going are my friends. If you attain this fruit, everything is yours." So after many weeks of discussion, I hope we all take one more step. Don't just stop of getting more information, but please experience the teaching in our daily life and keep practicing and apply the Dharma in our everyday life so we attain the slogan, the whole world is a single flower, sand blooms everywhere. So thank you very much for listening and happy to share what we do in Hong Kong with you.
Thank you, Zen Master Day Kwan. I hope everyone in Hong Kong stays safe and well during this difficult times. And wonderful teaching. Let your mind go anywhere without any hindrance. Now, I wish my body could go anywhere without hindrance, but I guess I'm stuck here for the next, to the end of the year at least. So thank you. Now to Zen Master Daebong, who's coming to us from Musangsan, Korea. Zen Master Daebong received Dharma transmissions in April 1999. He began practicing with Zen Master Songsan in 1977 and became a monk in 1984. Before studying Zen, he worked as a counselor in a hospital and as a welder in a shipyard. He has practiced and taught extensively in Zen centers throughout the United States, Europe, and Asia, and is currently living at Musangsan, Kirangsan International Zen Center in Korea. Master Daebong, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good day, good morning, all depending on where you are on this lovely globe, which we know from the human point of it's a problem. We're creating a problem. But I feel very fortunate to have listened to the talks today from Dharma friends And during the last 5 panels, 6 weeks, expressing what is the core of our practice, what is the heart of the Bodhi-Dharma, of the Buddha-Dharma. I don't usually say that. I probably say Buddhism, but listening to Igor Popsanim, I realized, that sounds better to me. The Buddha-Dharma. And I'm very grateful that so many of our friends know how to bring this into our lives and connect it with the natural world also. It's so wonderful to see the videos and to have Dr. Senzumio's very clear description of our situation and not only the outside problems, but the root of it in the human problem. And it reminded me that Zen Master Seung Sahn, in talks many places, and I know often in Korea, even in his talks to Korean people, would say, yes, this world has many, many kinds of problems, many kinds: economic, political, social, religious, environmental, personal, psychological. If we return to our true nature, realize our true nature, everything is solvable. And that's the heart of why the practice in the Buddha Dharma is so important. Then that has an effect on every aspect of our life. We also have a saying in Zen Buddhism, good situation is a bad situation is a good situation. And we know that there's many millions of people in the world who have very bad situations of various sorts. But this pandemic is maybe a fortunate thing for many of us. Of course, some people died. Many people have lost someone with their family. Many have become sick with unknown prognosis. And it has had a tremendous effect on people's living situations. But it gives us an opportunity to look at ourselves in our life as individuals. And even societies, they grow and develop as individuals take on ideas. So all of us are responsible in some way for everything that's around us. There was a famous psychologist in the 1960s and 70s, and he talked about human beings as needing four things that humans need: food, clothing, shelter, and community. And I would add, as part of community perhaps, or separately, spirituality. But this pandemic gives us a chance in any situation we're in to consider our relationship to food, to clothing, to shelter, and to community. And it brings out some of the difficulties we have, in some cases quite severe, in providing those things for ourselves, both as individuals and as a human species. And I think that kind of reflection is crucial. It also gives us the chance to become in touch with the fundamental nature of our lives. For years, when I was a kid even, and it still happens now, when I walked around my town or wherever I happen to be, I get this big question like, who's going to buy all this stuff? You know, who's going to buy all these clothes? Who's going to buy all these things? And then, of course, if you look at a food market, how many billions of fish do we kill every day? But what can we do? First point is, what can I do in my life? What is my relationship to these things? And there's a chance to come up with more satisfying ways of living if we just simply raise that question to ourselves and keep a mind that doesn't know. If we're always trying to solve everybody's problem, then we'll just get frozen with despair probably and not be able to do anything. But look to the everyday reality in your own life, and then it slowly grows from there. Very important also is, how did Zen Master Seung-san leave Korea without another language? Well, he knew Japanese, but he went to the West and spread this teaching in ways more successful than many Asian teachers, and definitely than any other Korean teacher. How did he do that? Personal contact, one by one, connecting with people and understanding where their minds are. As Jan Senzumio talked about, listening. Learn to listen to ourselves, and then we can learn to listen to others. And this is so fundamental, rather than just my idea. How do we connect? We listen. And one more thing, we care about others. So the Dalai Lama said during a talk, I don't know how long ago, but we recently watched it. It was an hour-long program. And he said he's come to realize the first most important thing in his life is sharing a secular morality, meaning not being hindered by our own situation, our own religion, our own country, and realizing there is kind of a moral connection, not about good and bad. It simply comes down to being concerned for the welfare of others. And that includes the whole universe. As we always say, sentient beings are numberless. We don't say humans are, 8 billion, we got to save them all. Sentient beings are numberless. So our care is for everyone. And how does it manifest? One by one, what we run into moment to moment. So that's all I want to say right now, because I want to leave time for questions that people have. And Jan said that he would be willing to answer through email any questions that there isn't time to answer here. But, we've been through this 6 weeks together, and we've touched many different aspects of the human situation, of how practice can help us develop more care and wisdom in dealing with our personal lives and our social lives and our being as a human being. And most important is how we continue to share that with each other, the questions we raise for ourselves, the connections we make moment to moment with others, and the knowledge that we gather of how we can function in a way that's really beneficial for ourselves and others. And if we pursue that effort, we don't have to be concerned with the result. I think fearing the result, what the result may bring, tends to freeze everyone. But the real live point is right now connecting with our big situation and our moment-to-moment concrete life. So I just want to say I'm so grateful to be part of this, because this is what we're all dealing with. This is our human world, human life. And I think we have something called Sangha, which is this wide, endlessly wide group of people who want to look at ourselves and live our lives in ways that really fulfill that caring. And that's life. The result is whatever it is. So thank you for everyone participating all this time. And I hope the moderator will pick up here and take care of any questions that have appeared.
Thank you very much, then, Master Debo. Wonderful teaching, human connections and connecting with each other one by one. Now, I believe I hand back to our MC, Wei Li.
Thank you, William Sinim. A big thank you to all the speakers and the moderator for the great teachings and insightful sharing today. So now I would like to again invite Zen Master Devon to lead us in the recitation of the 4 great vows.
Okay, all together, the 4 great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it.